What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Top 10 Tuesday. This is episode 94, and for this week, I'm actually really excited about this one because it was rather fun to do, actually, because I got to revisit a couple films I hadn't watched in a while, and yeah, man, this was just it's a topic that have been fascinated with my entire life. Ever since I was a young child, I became fascinated with real serial killers. So that's today's top 10, in case you didn't read the header on the video. But yeah, at such a young age, I became obsessed with serial killers, and Dahmer was always the one that had me fascinated the most. Just the shit that he did, man, was just insane. But as most people that are into horror and stuff, that stuff's always very fascinating. But there's so many serial killers out there that have interesting stories, and so here's my top 10 favorite, kind of adaptations of those true stories and stuff like that. There's so many films to choose from out there, but what I did for this list is I tried to not repeat serial killers, so there is 10 different serial killers here for the respectable top 10. All right, let's get right into this. In at number 10 is a film called, Ted Bundy. Simply called Ted Bundy. Now, this movie right here is not perfect. I do have a little bit of problems with it. Just the fact that this one kind of picks up already into the killings a little bit. It doesn't give you much history on Ted Bundy himself, and because there's a lot of story to Ted Bundy. Honestly, you could probably do like a whole TV miniseries on Ted Bundy. His story is just nuts. It's very long and stuff. But this one does capture the essence of what Ted Bundy was about, and I really do like that. Plus, I wanted to get a Ted Bundy film in here. There is quite a few adaptations of Ted Bundy's story, but this is the one I have, and I do enjoy this one. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it does have some pretty insane moments, and if you're familiar with Ted Bundy, you know that he was a really sly, fucked up guy, man. But yeah, Ted Bundy in number 10. In number 9 is one I actually haven't watched in a while, but I remember just loving this film, and it's Summer of Sam, directed by, of course, the one and only Spike Lee. I always thought it was just so crazy when Spike Lee decided to direct this film. It just blew my mind. But yeah, man, this one right here, I always thought the David Berkowitz story was really interesting. How he was hearing voices and they were telling him to kill people and shit like that. It's an interesting story, but I like this adaptation. It's telling a kind of a fictional story within the real story of David Berkowitz, The Summer of Sam, and it's got really good performance, man. John Leguizamo's in this, Mira Sorvino, just lots of people's in this one. Adrian Brody, Jennifer Esposito, who's fucking sexy. But yeah, really good film, man. I really like this film, how it flows. And like I said, the performances are great, but it captures New York City, and it kind of captures that heat of when it was going on and stuff. So, but yeah, Summer of Sam, kind of very surprising film, for Spike Lee to be doing, but I really enjoy that one though. So, Summer of Sam in at number 9. In at number 8, of course, is David Fincher's Zodiac. Now, the Zodiac killer was a very fascinating killer, and it's just such a shame that they never caught the Zodiac killer because, I guess that's a spoiler alert if you've never seen a movie. I guess it's public knowledge. It's a true story. So, but yeah, the Zodiac killer would have been very fascinating to hear the story and get the whole insight if they had ever caught this guy. But he was interesting. He used to fuck with the police, and I like this movie because it shows both sides. Him fucking with the police, then the investigators really trying to figure out his games and stuff like that. And it's one of those movies that doesn't really have an ending, but you really wish it did, but it's still very good. It's very good. It's David Fincher. I mean, David Fincher really hasn't done a bad film, in my opinion. So, but yeah, really good performances. Robert Downey Jr. is good in this too. Jake Gyllenhaal. Good film though. Good film. Zodiac. Just always wish that they had caught the guy. Would like to know more. But yeah, that's number 8. In at number 7 is not a film, but a documentary called H.H. Holmes, based on, America's very first serial killer. H.H. Holmes is a very fascinating story. This guy was a serial killer in the early 1890s. And he was, you know, a career criminal. He was a con man. He was just everything, you know, that you don't want in a person, basically. But basically, what he was about is he ended up building this huge building in the downtown of Chicago, which ultimately became like a huge torture chamber type deal, because they dubbed it as the castle because it was very, very huge and stuff. But it was kind of like a hotel. But he designed this thing very interesting. Like, he had staircases going to nowheres and stuff like that, and all of these chambers were built downstairs, and his whole story and how he did that is very, very interesting. But yeah, so people would check in his hotel and they would not leave and stuff. They had the World Fair in 1893 there, which it says in Chicago. And I think like 50 or 60 people went missing during that time, and they've pretty much figured that H.H. Holmes had a lot to do with those people that went missing and stuff. And I think he only ever got charged and convicted with 7 or 8 murders or something like that. But if he claims that he did, you know, anywhere up to 200, but they just couldn't prove a lot of the stuff with the technology back in the early 1890s. They had a hard time dealing with everything. But it was really interesting how he would dispose of bodies. Like, he would actually put them in infernos, and, you know, he would get rid of the evidence completely. And yeah, just really, really fascinating stuff, man. H.H. Holmes, way ahead of its time. I mean, you know, this is really kind of the very first serial killer. It's just really interesting how, you know, he just did this shit. He was so diabolical. Probably one of the most diabolical killers ever out there. He was just so smart, too. Very, very smart. He was a doctor. And, yeah, H.H. Holmes, check it out. It's a really cool documentary. Very cool behind the making of it and stuff. And I really like the way they did this documentary. Let me grab this again. Just with the way they shot it and stuff. The director did a really good job with kind of making it look like, you know, the footage was from that time period and stuff. And he just... It's a really fascinating documentary. I just wish it was a lot longer. This one is only about 65 minutes long, so it rips by quick, but it tells a good story. It's narrated by, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's fucking awesome. Really good stuff. Good music in it too, so check it out. H.H. Holmes, awesome stuff. And that was in at number 7. Number 6 is the serial killer I named off the beginning of the show. And Dahmer. It's got to be my favorite one, man, because I don't know what it is about Dahmer, but I've seen like every film adaptation. I've read the books, everything, watched all the documentaries. Dahmer's fascinating to me because he's just that kind of all-American, stereotypical, you know, kind of Western serial killer that, you know, started killing animals at such a young age. But he's an interesting one because he was a homosexual. You know, he preyed on, you know, homosexual men, but he was a cannibal too. And just the way he went about his daily life and how he got away with it for so long, and just his methods and stuff. He was a very fascinating kind of socially inadequate or awkward person that just got away with this shit, man. It's just so fascinating. If you don't know much about Dahmer, look into him. He's a very interesting serial killer. I'm sure most people watching this video probably know a lot about Dahmer. But yeah, this movie right here it depicts Dahmer very well. Very, very well. I was very surprised when I first watched this. Jeremy Renner, who stars as Dahmer in this, does such a fantastic job. Like, his performance is really fucking good. This movie really kind of floored me, actually, when I first watched it, because, like I said, I've seen all the other Dahmer ones. They're all pretty decent, actually, based on story. I mean, the film quality varies from film to film. This is low budget, but there is ones that are even less budget than this. But this is good. It's low budget, but it's very well executed and very well done. So yeah, check out Dahmer. It's good stuff. And that was in at number 6. In at number 5, of course, is Henry. Portrait of a Serial Killer. Henry Lucas, the drifter, the man that would just, you know, fuck people up, man. He was a very diabolical person. I don't really want to talk about this one too much. I just recently did Henry 1 and 2 on the podcast. If you want to know my complete thoughts, go check out whatever episode that was that we did on the podcast. But good film. I mean, it's not a perfect film. There is a couple issues with this one that really don't kind of add up that me and JP did discuss in the review and stuff. But overall, it's a pretty good adaptation. There's a lot to Henry Lucas's story. So, I mean, but for what it is, it works pretty well. So, yeah, Henry in at number 6. In at number 5. In at number 4 is, of course, Citizen X. Now, this is a TV film done by HBO, starring, of course, Stephen Ray and Donald Sutherland. And this is about the Russian serial killer Andrei Zaluzhda. I can't remember. I can't really pronounce his name. Anyways, he was a Russian serial killer from like the late 70s until about 1990 when he got caught. And he was just a really fucking crazy, diabolical asshole, man. This guy, He claims to kill 56. He ended up getting charged with 52. They found 52 bodies that he had done. They couldn't prove the other 4, but basically what he would do is he would track down, or he would go to these train stations and he would prey on, younger people. 35 of the 52 killings that he did were, basically kids. They were under the age of 17. The other ones were just kind of, just very homely and distraught women and stuff that he killed, but he preyed on the weak. And it's pretty nasty. Like, he had sexual problems, so really the only way he could get off is when he would try to fuck these girls. And when it didn't work, he would start to stab them, and that's when he would jack off and ejaculate on them and stuff. It's just, he was a really fucking diabolical killer. But the story is really interesting because in Russia, the very, very political stuff going on, they never publicized the serial killer at all the whole time because they didn't want to show weakness. They wouldn't allow him to get help and things like that. There's just so many factors that, the government was very kind of holding back with this case and stuff. It's very interesting to kind of watch that aspect of this. But Citizen X, man, if you've never seen this, check it out, man. It's really interesting about a really fucking messed up dude, man. That it's got an interesting story. So check it out, Citizen X. That was number 4. And number 3, of course, is Deranged, The Confessions of a Necrophile. Of course, this is based on Ed Gein. Yeah, the subtitle on this one, The Confessions of a Necrophile, always confused me because Ed Gein was not a necrophile per se. Even though necrophile does have different meanings. Necrophile is mostly associated with people fucking dead bodies, but can also be associated with people that are obsessed with death and body parts and things like that. And, and that's what Ed Gein did, man. After this one tells a story of Ayers, I think is the characters in this film's name. After he loses his mom, he doesn't want to accept the fact that she is dead, so he digs her up, and then he just completely loses his fucking mind from there. He starts digging up bodies and making decor and stuff, and he's got like all these crazy bodies and shit around the house, and he just goes more or less on a killing spree too. It's interesting. Ed Gein's a really fascinating story too about someone that just has lost his way, man. And I think this movie is just really, really brilliant, really, really brilliant stuff. Deranged, just such a fantastic film all around. The performance is great, and of course this is the fully uncut one too, so it's got the jarring gore in it. So, but I do like this one. Yeah. So that was that was number 3. I just want to hold off for a second, but there is another Ed Gein story here. This one right here. And Steve Railsback plays Ed Gein in this one. I do highly recommend this film too. This is really, really fucking fantastic. I had to put Deranged in there because I do like it better, but this one, if I was just putting any type of films in the top 10, would have made my top 10 because it's really good. His performance as Ed Gein is just fucking fantastic, but it's kind of a cool story because it kind of focuses more on the psychological aspect of Ed Gein and stuff, and it's a cool, man. So I do really recommend that one. But anyways, Deranged, number 3. And number 2, of course, is the Charles Manson story from 76, Helter Skelter. This is just 3 hours of goodness, man. I know this movie's 3 hours, but it fucking flies by. And I wouldn't say like fully obsessed with Charles Manson, but I read and did a lot of research on Charles Manson growing up because I was always obsessed with serial killers. And this movie is really bang on. But then again, this one did come out shortly after the trial ended, I think in 71 or whatever, 71, 72, whatever he got, sentenced. But yeah, so this was only a few years after, so it was pretty fresh in the minds of people. But yeah, this is very factual. It's very, very good stuff. Performances, man. Steve Railsback, of course, plays Charles Manson as he does in Ed Gein. Steve Railsback, man, just such an underrated actor. He fucking kills this role. As a matter of fact, everyone kills this role in this film. All the girls that play the Manson girls are just fantastic in this. They do such a great job. But it really, this one more deals with the whole trial aspect of it. It picks up right the night of the killing and of the killings of the of course the Tate and everyone else's murders and stuff. But it's just fascinating the way this thing kind of develops, the whole trial and stuff. And I still think it's so crazy that one of Manson's attorneys actually end up getting killed because he totally put the hit on that guy. And I guess his last words to him were, I never want to see you in this courtroom again. And of course he went camping with his family and they found him dead and in a creek. It's fucking crazy, man. Crazy shit. But Charles Manson, just such a amazing story. But this is a really good film, really well done, acted. Just music is fantastic. And this actually, Steve Railsback, I think, even performed some of Manson's songs in this film too. So yeah, I highly recommend this. It is 3 hours, but it's a joy. It really is. So, and that was into number 2. And of course, in at number 1 is Angst. Yes, this movie right here, based on, Werner, what's his name? Werner Herzog. Yeah, real fucked up mental killer. But I've talked about this movie many times. I mean, this movie right here has by far the best camera work I've ever seen. It's just such an amazingly done film. Music is fantastic. The way this thing's acted, the way it's shot, the cinematography is just fantastic. But it depicts a serial killer so viciously. It's just so vicious, right from start to end. It's relentless, man. This is one of the best films I've just recently seen. It just blows my mind that there's still films out there that like this that I've never actually seen until recently, because, well, this one was a really hard one to find, but this movie is just phenomenal. Everyone needs to go out and see Angst. It's just amazing. So, but yeah, that's going to do it for my top 10, guys. So lots of films that never made the list. Of course, I bet you the one that people are screaming at the video is probably the town that dreaded sundown. Yeah, you know, I do like that film, but it seems like every time I watch it, I seem to like it a little bit less, but it is still pretty good. I really do like The Honeymoon Killers. I think that's fun. Burke and Hare, the one from the 70s, that's a pretty interesting kind of serial killer story too. Those guys were fucking weird, crazy grave robbers and shit. The Gray Man's really cool. But lots of others, lots of really good serial killer flicks out there, real serial killer flicks. But yeah, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Leave me comments down below. Tell me what your favorite ones are. I'm always interested to know. But yeah, this was actually kind of a hard list to do. So, but yeah. Anyways, guys, that is going to do it for the top 10. Do a quick little recap here. In number 10, Ted Bundy. Number 9, Summer of Sam. Number 8, Zodiac. Number 7, H.H. Holmes. Number 6, Dahmer. Number 5, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Number 4, Citizen X. Number 3, Deranged. Number 2, Helter Skelter. And of course, Angst. And that's going to do it, guys. This video's gone on 17 minutes. Deuces. Peace.